Hi all, this is Kevin Stewart, Builds 250, I'm Kev, and this is issue 11 of Builder's Model Spitfire Mk1A by Hachette Partworks. Well, issue 11 looks like it's going to be tricky. There's lots of kind of intricate pipe work going on top of the engine, cut parts, so it looks like, yeah, it's going to be a tough one. But just shows how much attention to detail's gone into this engine, because it is going to be super detailed. And we've also got some framework going on for the mounting of the engine. So let's have a look at the parts and let's get into the build for issue 11. Okay, so I've got the parts laid out for issue 11 as it shows in the inventory in the magazine. These are really detailed, little fine kind of hair width pipe work going on here. These are really delicate as well by looks of things. The things on the sprues. These are nice metal framework for the engine. It looks like more pipe work. Yeah, as I said in the intro, this looks like it's going to be quite a difficult issue. We've also got a part that came on it. It's a bracket. More about that in a minute. I think it's I've got a corrections leaflet in the issue itself, so we'll have a look at that. But yeah, this came kind of attached to the package, so make sure you've got that as well if you bought it from the newsagents. Okay, so quickly looking at the magazine, just mainly going to look at the instructions, but yeah, as you can see, I'm going to be cutting it with a knife, with a sharp knife, so and tweezers as well. So yeah, got quite a good little tweezer pack from Amazon, sprue cutter as well, and yeah, a modelling knife set as well, so I can have to cut the parts accurately. Yeah, lots and lots of detailed instructions on this one. We're only going to be following it though up to 12. We stopped following the magazine then because we've got this corrections leaflet that's been put in with the magazine. So that basically says do it to number 12 with the magazine and then follow these ones. Looks like they've added this little bracket which isn't in the magazine instructions. So once you get to 12, you have to revert over to this corrections leaflet. So we'll have a look at that as we go through. Okay, so it's with some trepidation that I say let's get into the build for issue number 11. Okay, so this is the first part it asks us to be working on. It's the oil pipe connectors. The tip does recommend looking through the magazine and checking out instructions 1 to 10 before you start, so I've kind of done that. And there's a couple of ways of doing this section, so I'm going to kind of try both and see which one ends up being the easiest. Okay, so the first thing it's asking us to do is to cut off number 1. So get my decent pair of sprue cutters. It will give you an area kind of to cut these off, so you're not cutting off the pegs that are going to be attaching it, I guess. Probably easier to see from that angle, the reverse angle. I'm actually not going to use the sprue cutters for that. I can't really get in close enough, so I'm going to use my craft knife, because as I say, I can't really get in close enough with the sprue cutter. Okay, so that's number 1 off. Now what it's asking you to do is to cut this ring. So get a very sharp knife and kind of cut into the ring. Opposite it, but as they always say, check twice, cut once. Because once you've cut it, there's no going back. So I'm just going to have another check at the instructions to make sure that I'm cutting in the right area. So it's kind of, you've got the pipes going off in that direction and you want to be opposite the pipes where you're cutting it. Okay, so that's quite easily cut, but just make sure, as I say, that you are checking that you're cutting it in the right area first. That's number 1 done. Next part it's asking us to do is to bring over this pipe, and we've got to put the piece that we've just cut off, number 1, onto this pipe at the first indent. The way it has it round that way, and the 1101, or the first pipe, goes in just here over this indent or recess in the pipe. The way I'm going to do it, get the tweezers, open up the pipe. Let's open up a bit, put it on and remove the tweezers, and then use the tweezers to squeeze the pipe back on so it's onto the recess. So that's pipe number 1 done. It doesn't say to glue it, and I don't think you need to. You want a bit of movement, I think, for when you put it onto the actual engine. Just as long as you can squeeze this. It is kind of flexible, whatever material it's made from. Kind of squeeze it in place and it'll stay reasonably where it needs to stay. Okay. 1 by 1, cut the remaining pipe sections 2 to 6 from the frame and wrap them around the indents in the order shown with the 5 pipes running along the top. So we just got to do that for the remainder of these pipes. So cut them all off, cut that there, and then put them onto this pipe. Okay, and I'll do that and then show you the results. Okay, so I've just finished putting on pipe number 2, and it's kind of important, I guess, to realise that this doesn't run in order. So that isn't number 3. It goes 1, 2, 4, 6, 3, 5. So I'm going to do 1, 2, obviously 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, they haven't put them in order. Must be the way they had to mould it. But so it's 1, 2, 4, 6, 3, 5. Okay, I've done all those pipes. They don't sit very well at the moment. It doesn't say to glue them. They are quite movable, but they're all pointing in the right direction and they're all on. This material, whatever it's made from, is kind of a rubber type material. It's quite easy to work with, to be fair. Just stretch quite well, so getting them on isn't too difficult. We're going to wait and see what it's like for putting it onto the engine. It does say that one of the tips is you can either do it this way, where you've got them all onto here and then you fit them to the engine, or you can fit this black pipe on first and then try and put these on once the black pipe's on. I'm not too sure how easy that would be. I mean, I'll try this first way and then I might try both ways and see which way I go, but if I have success with this first way, then that'll do. Okay, so the next part we've got to put the end piece on, which looks like this. Okay. It shows you where to cut it off the sprue. And then that has to go on the end here. These are very small, very fiddly parts. This is a very, very fiddly issue. So far, I think that's going to sit like that. So it has to kind of sit on here. Yeah, it is. It's kind of angled anyway. You can only kind of go on one way. Once you're happy with the fit, it says to super glue it on. Okay, so that's now glued in place. Yeah, it's got that shaped pin, so it kind of helps you know which way it's going to go in. Obviously with the pipes are going to be up like that, so looks like it does in the picture. Okay, so now comes quite a tricky part. Basically, you've got to get this pipe with all of these oil connecting pipes facing upwards, and you've got to fit that into a little hole in there, and then that goes into a hole in there with them all facing in the right direction. I'll show you where it's going to fit, but I'm probably going to do this off camera because it is very, very tricky. But there's a little hole in that part there, which is showing, which was AB from a previous issue. It was fitted in issue 9. So the angled part of the pipe, if you like, is going to come down like that, and then that part just fitted is going to go into that recess there. Okay, but as I say, it's going to be quite tricky, so I think I'm going to do this off camera and then I'll show the results. Yeah, very, very tricky to get that pipe to sit kind of in there. So you have to kind of gently glue it into there and then drag it along and kind of get that part to sit into there. Make sure that obviously all the pipe work that you've just put onto that pipe as well, all the oil connecting pipes are sitting upwards once you've finished. Okay. It does say, as I say, one of the tips is to fit that black pipe first and then try and put these in once you've done that, but I don't know how easy that would be. Once you've got that pipe in, these look okay. They are slightly movable as well, so you can kind of hopefully move them around as much as you need. Okay, so it's now finding out where these pipes are going to fit into. I think there's holes. Yeah, you can see the holes here. I think they're going to kind of sit into these holes. Tweezers are a must for this, absolute must. I doubt you're going to be able to do this any other way other than using tweezers, because this is not going to be easy at all. You'll kind of bend the pipes over. I'm doing this one just to kind of have a bit of a practice, because you got to do number 1 first, which is at this end, or that's what it tells you to do anyway. And they're all going to fit like that, I guess. So you got to work your way from 1, and 2 goes in over 3, 2 goes into somewhere around here, and 3 goes round it, 4, 5, 6. So once again, probably going to do this if I can. I'm going to try and do it on the overhead camera, and then see how I get on. Okay, now I'm happy with the fit. Could super glue them in. But once you put them in, they do go in quite positive. And it says that one's definitely going to need some super glue. Number 3 here. Okay, they are coming out. So I am going to have to kind of super glue them in. Okay, but now I know where they all go. Hopefully it's not going to be as much of a chore. It says before he's done it. That's a bit tempting fate, isn't it? But they are tricky, definitely tricky to get in. Even identifying the holes was kind of tricky, to be fair. Okay, not easy at all, but looks, definitely adds something to the engine, doesn't it? It definitely looks impressive. Okay, now moving on, we've got another kind of very delicate small part to fit. It's this part here, which calls it the pipe connector. So it's got two pins on the back, obviously, and they're going to fit into the pins there. And then it's very difficult to see where these are going to go, so I'm kind of going to show it. So that's going to fit on in such an orientation. And then this top pipe is going to fit into a little tiny recess in this pipe here. So this pipe runs up into the pipe along the engine, and there's a tiny little hole recess into there. And that's going to fit into, so that top pipe's going to fit into there, and that bottom pipe's going to fit into the hole just there. Okay, so I'll show them first because it's going to be very difficult to show it and also do it. As normal, yeah, they're going to fit in with a little dab of super glue once I've got them into the correct orientation. This is a very, very fiddly issue. Very fiddly. Okay. So first things first, a little dab of super glue to these pins here. Don't put too much on, to be fair. And that just kind of fits on too. And then, as I said, this top one here is going to kind of go into a little hole in the pipe. Okay, so you see that first pipe up into there, and then this next one is going to go into a little hole in there. I'm going to dab a super glue into that hole there. Actually, this one's probably going to be easy. I'm going to put it onto the actual pipe itself. Okay. So that pipe into there. And these two pipes at the front don't get fitted at this point yet. So these two pipes at the front just going to dangle, but yeah, that pipe goes into there and that pipe goes into there. Pipe connector done. And that's it for the engine. For this point, that's up to, as it says, instruction number 12. Still looking impressive. Super detailed, very, very nice. Yeah. Okay, so now we're on to the this bit, the connections part. So we've got the little bracket and a pack of KM screws, I think it calls. It says 3, I've only got 2, but oh well, I only need 2. I'm missing a spare. Yeah, KM screws. I'm going to be bringing over the engine. Not the engine, so we're going to be bringing over the propeller spinner in its housing. So, it says the first thing we've got to do, remove the 2 screws holding the motor housing. So we've got to remove these 2 screws here. So removing that screw and that screw, leaving the other 2 in. Have to untie my cable for the motor. And we've got the bracket itself, and align the 2 screw holes with the holes in part. The arm of the bracket should be at the top, so that needs to be at the top. The picture's a little confusing for me, so that needs to be at the top. that way around. Just kind of, yeah, and then the cable. Kind of bring the cable round. Push the cable down a bit. Kind of holding the cable down. So you don't use the screws you just took off, use the KM screws, slightly longer screws. So those screws you removed, you're not going to refit. And you're going to kind of feed this underneath the bracket. Feed the cable under the bracket. Got a bit of a twist on the cable here, so I'm going to got a bit of a twist on the cable. Don't like twisted cables, so I'm going to just remove this and get the cable untwisted. Yep, happy with that. Feed that cable then through there to that side, motor housing. And obviously the bracket is the bit we've just fitted. The cable kind of gets fed through there. Okay. You need to study the diagrams. It says here, carefully identify 1109 and 1107, which are these parts here. Okay, and you've got to carefully identify which one's which. So I'm thinking 1107 is when I've looked on the, it's got the rivet markings on that side. And it's sitting like that. 1109, around, it's got the rivet markings. So that's how I've identified it. So 1107 and 1109. So 1109 is the one it wants me to use. This first part. And note position of the paper left hand part. Loosen the screws that hold 9. Loosen the screw that holds 205. So I've got to loosen the screw. It just says to loosen. So slightly loosen the part that holds this 205 in place. One way it also says, when I've looked at the picture, is when it's, because this is going on this side, it's got this peg. So it's got that peg that sits on the outside. So the actual detail part, if you like, is sitting towards the engine. So that part there, that peg there, that's to kind of face outwards. So the first part's going to go in to 205. It's the lower part. Just seeing which part it goes into. It doesn't say to glue this at all. And that, very, very tricky. See now why it says to loosen that. But once you've got it in, you loosen that off, you can kind of, once that's into the engine, you bend that back a bit. That's why you've loosened that. So you bend that back a bit, get that into the engine, bend that back a bit, and then do that. And you're going to do the same for the other side. It says to do it at the same time. I'll see if I can do this the way I'm doing it. Put that into there. So I'm putting the tab. Kind of trying to get 3 things to fit at the same time. Kind of making sure that everything's lined up. And it says once those are all in place, which they're not brilliantly in place, I must admit. Will they be once this is tightened? Possibly. Once everything's in place, I mean they are in place. Tighten up that screw again. Yeah, that's okay. And everything's kind of held in place that way. Okay. And that's it. For issue 11. That bracket, that's the new bit, but it says won't. It also says that when you get issue 12's instructions, that this bracket won't be visible because it's not. Obviously, it's a correction, so that won't be in there. But okay, and these parts will keep in for a future issue. Okay, so issue 11 of the Spitfire done there. Wow, I knew, just looking at the instructions, it was going to be a tough one. Getting those little pipes in weren't too bad, but it was just time consuming. Fiddly, another fiddly issue if you like, but looking absolutely fantastic. That engine is so detailed. Those oil connector pipes, say that was so fiddly to put in, absolutely sets the engine off beautifully. So I guess it was worth all the time and effort it took to put them in. Okay, so I've got a bit of an update on this build anyway. I emailed Hachette about if I get the issues from the newsagent, am I going to get the dynamic stand? So in the advert you may have seen that it sits on that stand. You can retract the undercarriage. It kind of banks when it's got a remote control that works, so you can bank it and the ailerons and everything move. The reply I got was kind of non-plus. It was, we cannot guarantee that that's going to happen. Depends on your newsagent. So not too sure where I am with this at the moment. I'm going to carry on getting it from the newsagents. For the moment, so I'm going to get issue 12 from the newsagents probably tomorrow and get that built and up as probably in the next week or so. But then I really have got to make that decision on whether I'm going to be subscribing or not to guarantee that I get that the dynamic stand. Although saying that, it's going to look good even if it's kind of on the ground, you know, with the wheels down, with the undercarriage down. It's just whether I'm going to get that remote control as well to operate all the electrics. I'm sure that's got to be part of the build, hasn't it? Because it'd be pointless going through having all these motors and things if you can't operate it. So I'm not sure at the moment, but I'm definitely going to be getting issue 12. That's going to be on the channel soon, as I say, because I'm going to get that built. So watch out for that. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you'd like to see progression of this model, I know I'm umming and ahhing, but it gets to the point with these part builds where you got so much invested in them that it's kind of counterproductive, if you like, to kind of quit, because once you've got a couple of £100 kind of invested, once you're up to kind of issue 20 to 30, you've got so much money invested that quitting really isn't an option, and some of the part build companies know that. So I am more than likely going to be carrying on with the Spitfire build. So as I say, if you like the progression of this model or the other models on the channel, because I'm doing the Ecto one, that's definitely going ahead. The Ferrari's got a bit of a delay, but I'm absolutely loving the Ferrari F40, so can't wait for that to start again. But it looks like it's going to be kind of August time before that starts again. As I say, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to click the bell if you'd like to be notified anytime that a video goes live. But for now, take care. Hope to catch you again on the channel soon. Until for now.